following program is presented by the Jericho Network in association with Podcast One.
Hello and welcome. It's Tuesday and you're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness and I'm your host, Dave Schrader. We have got an interesting show today. As I've asked many of our listeners to reach out and tell us if you have got guest ideas, if you've got people that you think that we should hear about on this show, we want to know about it. And I love it when listeners do that and they reach out and they alert us to some of the best guests we've ever had. This story came to me and was really fascinating. A friend of ours, Amy, who's been a friend of the show for many years, wrote to me and said, you need to speak to Sam the Miracle Man. I know this guy personally. I know this story. And Dave, your audience needs to hear this. I read about him, read about his background and information, and I thought, boy, this is something that I think we could all use a hand with and get some knowledge. So joining me tonight for the show, Sam Shelley will be my guest. Sam the Miracle Man, as he's affectionately called by his friends. He has survived 2 near-death experiences and 5 incurable diseases. And he has spent most of his life in pain with his mental and physical disabilities. He's got an interesting story to share with us tonight, and I don't want to take any of the thunder away from this, so let's dive right in. Sam, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
This is fascinating. Give me a little bit of background about yourself growing up, and when did you get diagnosed with these incurable diseases?
Okay, well, if we want to begin really early, when I was 6 years old, I was run over by a van, head trauma, compound fracture of the elbow, broken hip. I spent about a year and a half in rehab. The van really did a nice number on me.
And so, was that one of your first near-death experiences?
That was the first near-death experience.
Right, walk me through that. So you're 6 years old. What happened? Are you out for just a walk? Are you playing? Does a car jump a curb? How does this altercation occur?
Well, it happens after I get ice cream from the ice cream truck. This guy who was driving a service utility van was not paying attention. He was flying around a curve on our road and simply not paying attention. He ran over me.
Oh, my gosh. And you're hit. Are you immediately unconscious? Are you awake through some of this? What happens to you, Sam?
Well, I'm basically unconscious, get a little moments of consciousness here and there. Like my first memory was, waking up in the ambulance briefly for a few seconds and drifting back asleep. Then as I was being wheeled into the ER, I guess it was the OR, the operating room, I just saw all these bright lights and I just came through a couple seconds there. Then I didn't come back again. So I believe it was later that night after my surgery that I had.
Now, and how many injuries did you sustain in this accident?
Well, I had the head trauma, the broken elbow, the broken hip, and the van drugged me. So I had scrapes and cuts all over my hands, all over my body. I just remember being like a wreck.
Did you at least get to enjoy any of the ice cream, Sam?
I honestly don't remember any of the ice cream, but I do know that it was a year and a half of rehab after that.
Holy cow, a year and a half. All right, now this near-death experience, do you have a memory of angels, God, white light? What was your near-death experience like?
My near-death experience was a little unusual, to say the least. What I remember, I think it was that night after the surgery, what I remember from my near-death was being placed back into the body, then seeing 3 silhouettes on each side of me, removing my life support. Then what I remember from that incident, my mom asking me...
Now, real quick, Sam, when you say being put back in your body, were you aware that you were out of your body?
No, I just remember the sensation being placed back in my body.
So you get this feel like you're kind of like they're pouring you back into your shell.
Yes.
Okay. And while you're still in this unconscious state, you're witnessing these three figures, or is it as you're coming out of it?
As I'm going into the body and my eyes are opening, I see this like bright light and the three silhouettes on each side of me, removing my life support. Okay. You got to remember, like, I was really damaged, beat up.
Right.
But my mom said to me the next morning, is like, why'd you remove your life support? I didn't have an answer for that because I was only 6 years old.
Right. So they thought you did that. They thought you took the life support. But first of all, how would a 6-year-old even begin, A, to know what to do, and B, do it successfully? That's right. That's remarkable unto itself. So you believe that the angels brought you back, or somebody brought you back, and then just removed all of that equipment because you were going to sustain and be fine on your own. Right.
That was the whole message that I saw afterwards, that I didn't need all this outside help. I could do it myself.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty powerful. All right, so now you come into consciousness. Was there any words that you were given? Was there any incentive? Did they tell you, Sam, we know this is going to hurt, you're going to do well? Or was it just put back in the body and life reboots?
Yeah, that's basically it. No messages, just the visuals of those three silhouettes on each side of me removing my life support.
Okay. So now you're off life support. What happens to you from that point? You said 1.5 years of rehab to get yourself going and back. Did you sustain any long-term injuries? Now, I know a traumatic brain injury can be a part of us for the rest of our lives, but did it hinder your learning, vision, hearing, any kind of long-term effects?
Well, the long-term effects from that was, from the brain damage, I came in with bipolar.
Okay.
Bipolar disorder. So after my mom said those words to me at 6 years old, I didn't have any answer, so it must have been me. Like, that memory sort of got suppressed right there because everyone around me said it had to be you. But he didn't really step back and say, wait, how could he have done this? Like you were saying, it was a big mystery. So it was sort of repressed, that memory, for a while. So then I was going through life as an undiagnosed bipolar until my 20s. I can look back at my life and see that I was exhibiting mental symptoms like 9, 10 years old, somewhere around there.
Right.
Because I was like ultra shy and kind of moody. It's really isolated.
Do you remember having high highs and really low lows where you would just do that bipolar swing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was a rapid cycler. So I can go from like really depressed to really happy 3-4 times a day.
Okay.
So it was really... But in my 20s, I got really depressed and suicidal. So I had to be hospitalized twice so I didn't kill myself.
Now, when you say you got suicidal, we have a lot of listeners out there, Sam, that are in dark places. And we talk about it openly on our show. I've talked about my experiences with suicide. What was that like for you? Can you walk us through a little bit of this moment in your life? What brought you to the point that you thought ending your life might be the only viable answer?
Because life just felt so painful.
Okay.
That things weren't going right, that I didn't deserve to be happy. Just like a lot of self-defeating thoughts I had. And I call those self-defeating thoughts now the head trash.
That's a good name for it.
Yeah, because I just had all this garbage in my head, but I took it as my truth.
And where do you think this garbage stemmed from? Was it from the brain injury? Or was it years of kind of feeling sorry for yourself because of what you'd gone through?
Yeah, years of feeling sorry for myself, that things never worked out. The things
and I don't want to discount that either by making it sound like, you were just wallowing in self-pity. It's not that kind of thing, but we get into that mindset, right, where something bad has happened, and then it's very easy to let that mountain build up on our shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of negativity. And sometimes taking even things that are not negative and flicking them up there to make it even more heavy and cumbersome for you to carry on your back for eternity.
Right. Yeah. So I had that in my 20s, that bipolar.
Right.
Then I had some
when you were going to commit suicide, what made you stop, or did you attempt, and that's what put you into the hospital?
No, it was this moment of clarity came after I put out the sleeping pills, the Ambien, the full bottle of Ambien that I had on the side there. Wrote the note, was just real close to it, then just had this moment of clarity. I should probably call my wife. This isn't right. And then after that, they took me into the hospital, and I was there. And then I tried to do that again a couple of years later. But once again, I had that moment of clarity.
And what do you think that moment of clarity was? Do you think that was your own brain waking up and clearing through this bipolar haze, or do you think that this was some kind of divine intervention?
Yeah, I really don't know how to describe it, because everything was in place. The pills were out, the water was out, the note was written. But for some reason, I just had that moment of clarity that to go on. It was just that, I don't know, maybe it was like a divine spark from that near-death experience that was still germinating, still in the background a little bit. Maybe just get that divine clarity, twice in my life that, maybe life is worth continuing.
And when you went in to the hospital and they were working with you there, did that start you back onto the road to recovery, or do you feel that spark is what already put you on the road to recovery and you were going to get out of that anyway?
No, at that time it was still really dark.
Okay.
What I remember was it took 5 years to get my medicine correct after that incident.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
5 years just to get balanced on the right medicines.
Yes.
Okay. So your second attempt, what happens there?
Well, I think that was after the second attempt where it took 5 years to finally get the medicine. It was like suicidal, out of the hospital. Within a year or two later, was back in the hospital.
Had you attempted the second time, or did you stop yourself short again?
I stopped myself short again.
Okay.
Just like that moment of clarity.
All right. So that's good. That's this survival instinct definitely working in your favor, and this moment of clarity coming in. All right, what do you do with this, Sam? A lot of people face this darkness, and they don't necessarily get that clarity, and they put the gun in their mouth. They put the pills in their mouth. They don't get this moment of clarity. How do you think you were able to weed through the garbage, the mind garbage, and open yourself up for that? So if people are on that brink right now, what's a really good tip for them to kind of clear and allow the light or whatever you want to talk to, that spark to reignite, to give them another fighting chance?
Yeah, just to realize that it's head trash. It's not true. And that's what I saw, that I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts.
That's great. I just saw a very interesting interview with Bobcat Goldthwait talking about the death of Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And all that Robin was going through. And I also saw Tom Arnold recently, and he was talking about Chris Cornell and the call he had to make to family and friends after that, saying this wasn't him. This mind thing, this garbage is what's talking you, and it's you buying into that garbage that brings you to that moment. That's not who the person really was. And Bobcat Goldthwait said that Robin, coming into the end of his life there, dealing with this strange form of dementia, was dipping in and out of kind of reality. So his decisions were not really his decisions. It was being manipulated in his mind. And I'm not saying by supernatural force, but by chemical imbalance, by whatever might have been there. But that's a great point. That trash, that garbage is not the reality of your situation. It's just garbage, and you need to sweep it away.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I spent like 5 years getting the medicine right. Then I had some interesting experiences with that. Of course, I was this crazy bipolar, and Brad Pitt happened to be in town. And my doctor said, hey, you'd be great for Brad to work with for a day. So I worked with Brad Pitt in the movie 12 Monkeys, teach him how to play a crazy person.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So talk us through that. I mean, that's a unique perspective. Hey, you're kind of nuts, Sam. Hey, they're doing a movie, and they need Brad Pitt to talk to somebody that's got a mental issue. Why don't you talk to him about how to be crazy? What was that kind of a thrill and kind of a slap in the face at the same time?
Yeah, it was. There's one part of the movie, because Brad walked into the screening room with these 3x5 cards, and there was a few of us there. And I said, when he was talking about the one scene where the tour of the psych ward, I role-played with him on that. So I was recently in the psych ward and all them kind of experiences. And it was just really just a surreal experience to be on a movie set talking to Brad Pitt about how play a crazy person. It was an interesting snapshot in life, that's for sure.
How was he regarding that? Because here's an actor who's looking into playing a role, and he's talking to somebody, and that's a delicate situation, right? You can't come in all cavalier and be like, "Hey, Sam, I hear you're batshit crazy. What drives you?" I mean, he has to be very gentle, but still get that information. I know you said it was kind of surreal to do this role play, but was he cool about getting that information and being respectful to the situation that you and your fellow patients were dealing with?
Yeah, he was not all hyped up. He was actually very calm, sober, like really down to earth, really well grounded, and just asking some sincere questions.
Did he offer any insights or thoughts to you regarding your dark spells at all from his point of view, or no?
No. Okay. It was strictly like, if I'm doing this, what's your mannerisms? What's your behavior?
Gotcha.
Yes. So that's the way so I spent an afternoon with Brad. That's one of my better things that come out of bipolar. Most of it was pretty dark, though. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
All right. And you meet with Brad Pitt. You got to kind of be an inspiration for him for the movie 12 Monkeys. So that's kind of a bright spot. That's also kind of an interesting aspect, right? That your insights went into helping create a character that's, extremely popular in cult movie fandom.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I wasn't going to say anything particular.
I was just going to say, so where does the next step of life take you then?
Well, where life takes me next is I had really severe migraines at that point in my life. So I spend like 1 to 2 days a month in the ER being treated for migraines.
Right.
And then also had psoriasis on about a third of my body.
Okay.
Then that psoriasis eventually got into my joints, which is psoriatic arthritis.
So now you're dealing with bipolar, migraines, psoriasis. What'd you call it? Psoriatic arthritis.
Yeah, psoriatic arthritis.
Psoriatic arthritis. So you've got four incurable diseases right there, right? I mean, these are, migraines, I mean, you can treat them, but there's no real way to cure migraines.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So I had all that. So if the things that weren't going bad enough for me, if you will, at age 37, I lost the ability to walk. So I had this.
Well, how did that come about?
Well, I had the worst migraine in my life on a Friday afternoon at work.
Okay.
I'm like, whoa, there's something really wrong here. Something's not right with this migraine. So I get myself home. I drive home somehow, some way. I mean, I was not in a good state to drive, but I still got myself home. And so what the doctor did, he just gave me these strong painkillers just to deal with the migraine over the weekend. And he said he would see me on Monday. But my Monday, walking was a challenge. So he ordered an MRI on Monday. And by that Tuesday or Wednesday, I was in the hospital, unable to walk.
Okay. Was there pain? Was it like a neuropathy pain where you couldn't feel anything? You were just unable to move? What happened?
Yeah, I had like pins and needles on my left side of the body. My eyes were jumping around. I couldn't really swallow too well. I couldn't even urinate. It was like the whole body was just shutting down.
All right. So what is medical science telling us then at this point? What are you dealing with? Is it a side effect of one of these other illnesses, the psoriatic arthritis? Is it maybe the medications that you're on blending together causing some kind of neurological issue?
Right. So what I end up at the University of Pennsylvania for 3 weeks of medical testing. So after all this medical testing, trying to figure out what I had or didn't have.
Right.
Because multiple sclerosis is a process of elimination.
Okay.
So they tested me for 3 weeks at University of Pennsylvania, say, okay, the only thing that we're left is multiple sclerosis based on your MRI scans, based on your spinal tap, based on your evoked potential test, and they concluded it was MS, multiple sclerosis at that time.
Wow. So this is the fifth disease that hits you. And over what period of time? I mean, you had bipolar from an early age, but when did all of the rest of this start to come into play for you?
I would say mid-20s. Mid-20s, this other stuff just started to come in. Then by 37, things got really serious.
So within 10 years' time, things really overdeveloped and you suddenly got this heap on your shoulder of medical conditions and maladies and depression.
Right. Yeah.
And I've got to guess this is only driving your depression, making it worse, even though you're on medications. This has got to be tough because anybody dealing with one or two of these situations could be, chronically depressed. All of these together have got to be a head trip for you.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely too much. At that point when I was diagnosed, the depression medicine was not working. It totally redid, the medicine. It just was not working anymore. So they had to bring in psychiatrists and stuff and try to figure out how to stabilize me. The one benefit was, since I was unable to walk, I couldn't do anything, so there's nothing I could have done. So that was the one blessing that come out of that. I was very depressed, but I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. So I couldn't react to all that.
And at this time, is your wife still with you, standing by your side? Where are you at in your world?
Oh, well, I think she's standing by with me.
Okay.
I think that's the case, but it turns out it wasn't the case.
Mm. And when does that get revealed to you?
Much later after my healing.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Because there should come up with excuses like the hospital's too far away to visit you all the time.
Right.
But it turns out she was actually on dates.
Unbelievable. Okay. All right. So you're going through this dark period, and even unbeknownst to you, it's darker than you could even imagine.
Right.
When is the second near-death experience? When does that come to you?
Well, that was actually earlier. That was when I was 16.
Okay.
That was when I was 16 when I had a near-death. This is when a drunk driver T-boned me. And but this near-death was a little bit different than anything I experienced before. This drunk driver hit me going maybe 40, 50 miles per hour, right on my driver's side door. And what I remember from that, I remember being cut out from the jaws of life and everything.
Holy cow.
But I had no injuries.
So something saved you. Okay. All right. So when you say near death, not in the classical sense.
Right. But just
But you should not have survived that.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But no injuries at all. I think I had a little concussion. That was about it.
Are you ever, is at any time, an anger or rage to God, the universe, whatever exists out there because of what you're going through? Just cut me a damn break.
Yeah, it was really a challenge, that I was really upset and angry most of the time because it's life wasn't fair. It was proving, my head trash was truth, that life isn't fair, that it's too painful, that it's too difficult. I had no idea in my 20s of how much worse it was going to get.
What were the trigger moments for you? What were the things that would drive you deeper into these dark realms? Because eventually from the multiple sclerosis, I did recover somewhat and could get around with a cane, a cooling vest, and some other things. So I could get around eventually after some rehab, like going from a wheelchair to a walker and just making improvements that way. But then eventually the multiple sclerosis became more progressive. So I was on this slow downward hill from the multiple sclerosis until my life just radically changed. But it was just a very, very dark time. Well, yeah, understandably. When you're going through something like this and there are so many things going on, what is the head garbage like in your life at that point? What are you hearing? What are you thinking? And how are you processing it on a daily basis?
It's just life is terrible. What did I do to deserve this? Why me? A lot of why me? Why am I going through all of this?
And would you come up with answers? I mean, did you ever feel guilt-ridden because of things you did, as a youngster or even in your adulthood? Did you ever feel like maybe you brought this on yourself? And I don't mean it to sound cold, but when you're in that mental mindset where you're depressed, a lot of times, and I've been there, you just think, oh, you brought this on, you moron. Look at what you did. Why did you even think about that? Why did you bring that into your world? And that's been a big part of my world, is that mind chatter, that incessant negative mind chatter constantly polluting my mind. And I know there's a lot of listeners out there dealing with this exact same type of thing.
Right. It was just a lot of head trash, a lot of self-defeating head trash, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't doing life properly, just all these excuses.
Right.
Mine was just really stewing constantly. And that there was no way out. It was just constantly stewing, and nothing I could have really done at that point except accept it some way and just, I'm here for a reason to keep on going.
Right.
I remember when I was doing MS walks, I had created my team determination. There was this little thing within me that was just determined to live the best life I could.
Interesting, right? Because you're being positive, but you're even putting yourself in a self-limitation there. Just live the best life you can, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, and again, I don't want to downplay what you're going through, because that's remarkable that you kept moving. And that's the important thing, folks. When you're in this dark place, it's continually pushing one more step. Because it's easy to lay down and die. It is. That's easy. Getting that strength to push one more day, to take one more step forward, that's the courage, that's the strength. And you have to just push that inside yourself, because that gives you one more day closer to getting help and getting out of these issues. You've got all of this coming down on you. How are you dealing with this and remaining positive, and even in that kind of a limited scope of saying, well, Dog Nabbit, I'm going to still have the best life I can. What is the inspiration for you to dwell, and bring you to that point?
I really don't know. I don't know if that was that little spark of clarity I had from my 20s, still like deep within me, like pushing me forward, keep nudging me forward, almost like that divine spark, if you will, that divine light, that our consciousness is to keep going. It was just like that little inner drive that's there underneath all that noise of the mind, underneath all that head trash, and then your consciousness, your soul is still there.
Now, I want our listeners to pay attention to this. We're going to go into a break in a few moments here, but I want you to realize this is what this man was dealing with. And from the age of 6, he's been hit by a van. He got T-boned by a drunk driver. He's dealing with bipolar disorder and depression, multiple sclerosis, debilitating migraines, psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and the inability to walk for a while, fighting all these things. And he had one moment of clarity that kept pushing him. And there's a lot of you out there thinking, but I haven't had that moment of clarity, Dave. I haven't felt that spark. And sometimes because we get so involved in our own chatter and in that mind garbage that we miss the message. And the message tonight is listening to this man tell his story. And there are some interesting supernatural elements to what's going to happen in the rest of the story I want you guys to stay tuned for. But remember, that spark comes from within if you listen for it. When I faced depression and suicide a couple times in my life and it didn't happen, there was a light, and I kept moving, and I kept thinking, well, what could I possibly do? Why am I still here? Why did the bullet not go? Why did the gun not fire? And then I look at some of the other things that have happened in my life. And did you face that as well, where you looked at it and then thought, well, all right, why am I here then? It can't be to just live through this pain. It can't be to just wallow and feel like crap. Did you have that moment of clarity as well?
Well, like I said, there was that moment of clarity. I did name my MS team, team determination, because I know it was just through my own determination that would carry me forward. Like I said, it's easy to give up. It is very, very hard to keep moving. So I just kept myself moving.
And keep moving, folks. If you're listening and you're in a dark place, stick with us through the rest of this show. Maybe you're thinking, Dave, I like ghosts, I like Bigfoot, I like aliens, I want an anal probe. That's what I tuned in for. But this story is probably one of the more important stories you're going to hear. Because whether you're feeling or facing depression yourself, or some of these laborious issues are being heaped on you, you know somebody in your life close to you is dealing with these exact circumstances. We've seen it happen. Multiple layers of crap building up, hitting over and over, one punch after another, one hit after another. And that's not what defines us. And that spark exists. When we come back, what started to turn this man's life around? What was the catalyst? Because he goes from a man dealing with 5 incurable diseases and a life of depression, and things change in a major way. We'll talk about that when we return. You're listening to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. Tim, I just came back from an amazing, fun 80s boat trip this last weekend. It was a big 80s party. Everybody was all decked out and dressed in their favorite stir-up pants or rolled-up day-glow clothes and just having a fantastic time. And I wanted to immerse myself in this. I wanted to recapture 1985, 1986 Darkness Dave. Long before the darkness, when I was just Dave the Wave, when I had a full head of hair, Tim, and I was smooth and kissable. And I had to do something drastic, Tim. I had to do something that I haven't done in, I think, 7 years.
Okay.
And that was to shave off my goatee.
Oh, my.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to put my Harry's razor to the test here. Because
that's a test.
I go after, I usually was a dry shaver. And I would, get out of the shower, towel off, and then I'd just grab my razor and I'd clean up my face.
Ow.
And, I've never been a fan of shaving cream, but I love the stuff you get from Harry's because it really does make my face feel better and moisturized. And there's a really nice layer of protection that comes with that. But I thought, all right, I'm going to take it to the goatee. I'm not even going to trim the goatee down. I'm just going to shave it. I want to see how good these blades really are. So I put on my lotion that they gave me, my shave cream, and I began the tedious task of removing the goatee. And with every...
Hold on, time out. You are a masochist.
Why?
I know how long your goatee was. To say you're just going to take one of Harry's razors and it's not a short goatee, folks.
No.
To take a Harry's razor to that, holy cow, dude.
You would think, I understand your mindset here, Tim, because you're used to the crappy razors we used to buy.
Well, yeah.
But Harry's razor, I wanted to test it. I had to test it. So I gave it the test, Tim, and it cleaned me up really nice. I was like 1985, 18-year-old kissable Dave again, and took it down to this baby face that's underneath it. No, it's only baby face because it's big, fat, and round. So, but I got rid of the goatee, and it was effortless. That was really amazing to me because I've tried to kind of trim up my goatee before with other razors I bought.
Mm-hmm.
And it's horrible. The pulling, the tugging, the pain, it's unbearable. But with my Harry's razor, it came off very easy. I can't even tell you. And then the best part and worst part about it, Tim, because, I'm used to having a goatee.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have my goatee. I'm comforted by it. My kids like my goatee. They're like, Dad, why are you shaving your face? And I told him, I got to get into character. I want to be 1985 Dave again. And if I'm going to have a full head of hair and look young with this wig on and all of this look, I want to look the part. And I can't have a gray goatee. So I shaved it off and smooth, Tim, very smooth. But there's a problem. It's now, a couple days here, 3-4 days since this. And my face is still smooth from using Harry's razors.
It's still smooth.
It's still, it's not baby butt smooth, but yeah, it takes the hair down so well that, I have a nice, smooth, kissable face for days. I don't have to rake at it every day like I used to with the disposable and junky razors I've been purchasing for all these years. And that's what I love most about using Harry's razors. Specifically, they are really good at getting down without leaving marks, without scarring you up, giving you rashes. And it gets down and dirty and takes away that hair. And Harry's is so confident that you're going to love their blades as well, that they're going to give a trial shave for free Did you hear that? You just sign up at harrys.com/darkness. That's harrys.com/darkness. And you pay $3 for shipping. Now, what is Harry's? Why Harry's? Well, Harry's is all about a great shave at a fair price, which is why over 3 million guys have switched to Harry's. Not just Tim and I, but over, 2,999,998 other guys have switched to Harry's because of this. And Jeff and Andy, just two ordinary guys who were fed up with buying overpriced razors, started Harry's to fix shaving. They bought their own German factory, which you and I, we have to look into getting our own German factory someday, Tim.
I know, right?
They've got over 100 years of blade-making experience to ensure the highest quality, and all their products are backed by a 100% quality guarantee. Harry's offers their blades at half the price of leading 5-blade razors, which sell directly to you over the internet. And check this out. Claim your free trial offer from Harry's today. It's a $13 value for free when you sign up. Just cover the $3 shipping. Your free trial set includes a weighted ergonomic razor handle, a 5-precision engineered blade with lubricating strip and a trimmer blade. You get this rich lathering shave gel that I love, and a travel blade cover. To get your free trial, go right now to harrys.com/darkness. Do it right now. That's harrys.com/darkness. Whether you're trying to take down the big bear beast of a beard, or if you just want to keep yourself clean, there's no better razor to trust than going with Harry's. And you can get that free set right now. $13 value. You just covered the $3 shipping by going to harrys.com/darkness and take advantage of that special deal right now. Tonight we're talking, Tim. We're talking about healing and making our lives better, right? The amazing after effects, the things that are making it available for us to make our lives better and more fulfilled, and maybe even tune in to the paranormal. Well, how do we start with that? Let's face it, one of the most important things is a good night's sleep. Right?
Oh, yes.
And you and I have both turned over to the Casper bed. Casper is a sleep brand that created one perfect mattress sold directly to consumers. They're eliminating commission-driven inflated prices, and it's an award-winning sleep surface that was developed in-house, and it has a sleek design. And then it's delivered in a small, how did they do that sized box? In addition to the mattress, Casper also offers an adaptive pillow and soft breathable sheets. Now, they have an in-house team of engineers that have spent thousands of hours developing the Casper, and it combines supportive memory foams for a sleep surface that's got just the right sink and just the right bounce to it. Plus, its breathable design sleeps cool to help you regulate your temperature through the night, and that's an important part of my sleep. I always have fans blowing on me from every direction, the air conditioning on. Even in the middle of winter, I got windows open to keep my room cool enough so I can sleep well. Well, I haven't had to do that since I got a Casper's mattress. And you're a big guy with that heat issue too, right? You like your Casper for the same reason.
I radiate heat at night, so yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Well, here's the deal. You're on the fence post. You're thinking, I don't know. Do I really need a new mattress? Can I get by? Listen, if you're having trouble sleeping and you're waking up all the time and you're uncomfortable and you're hot, buying a Casper mattress is completely risk-free. Casper offers free delivery and free returns and a 100-night home trial. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. Casper understands the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit, especially considering you're going to spend a third of your life on this mattress. They've got this just an obsessively engineered mattress, and it's at a shockingly fair price. You got to check it out for yourself. It combines the supportive memory foams to create that award-winning sleep, and it is award-winning to me. I love when I can get a full night of restful sleep, and I'm getting it all the time with my Casper mattress. They've got free shipping and returns to the U.S. and Canada. So try Casper for 100 nights risk-free in your home. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. It's designed, developed, and assembled in the good old US of A. And, all right, I want you to check this out because this is how you're going to get it. You're going to go to Casper.com/darkness, and you're going to get $50 towards any mattress purchase by using that link, www.casper.com/darkness, and apply the promo code darkness. Now, terms and conditions do apply, but take advantage of that $50 off and go get a full night of sleep. every night, because you deserve it, we deserve it, and that's the way you're going to start to heal and feel better right now.
There are 120,000 unsolved murder cases in America.
It was the next day that I found out from my parents what had happened, that my sister was killed.
Each one is called a cold case.
Sometimes you have to look really closely to find the evidence.
Damn, I killed her.
Damn it, I killed her.
Cold Case Files, the podcast.
Garcia is walking into the home of a real monster.
I was nervous. I realized what kind of person I was dealing with.
It's a goosebump moment.
Download new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe at Apple Podcasts or podcastone.com.
Mitch LaFon here. Please check out my new podcast, Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon, every Monday on the Jericho Network here at Podcast One. I'll be talking to all the biggest names in rock, including Andy Summers from The Police, Poison, Night Ranger, Loverboy, and a lot more. Download new episodes each Monday via podcastone.com, the Podcast One app, or simply subscribe via iTunes.
Beyond the darkness.
We are back, and you're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. Tonight we're talking with Sam, and he is the Miracle Man. This guy has faced it all. Sam Shelley, my guest tonight. The Miracle Man, as he is affectionately called by his friends. He survived, you heard it already, 2 near-death experiences and dealing with 5 incurable diseases, from bipolar disorder, multiple sclerosis, debilitating migraines, psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, which brought him to the point of not even being able to walk. And Sam has spent most of his life in pain, dealing with his mental and physical disabilities. He required, I think you said at one point, 13 medications a day and mobility aids to walk, move, and live your life. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Now, this is an important show because there's paranormal aspects coming up, folks. But as many of you have known, we've dealt with issues over the last few years with Tim and my health, and putting us in dark places because of things that have gone on in our lives and changes. And it's easy to start feeling overwhelmed. It's easy to start feeling lost, no matter what walk of life you come from. You know, you think as Bruce Springsteen, on top of the world, the guy's a worldwide recognized cultural rock icon and legend, and has been dealing with depression for years. Debilitating depression. Guys like Robin Williams, comedians, authors, musicians, sports figures. Nobody's immune to this. It's not your genetics. It's not your financial ability and stability. It's not your color or your religion or any of that. It can hit anyone at any time. And when you start feeling the heap of more trash added to your pile, the chains that you forge in life you drag with you, they will weigh you down. And that's why, and Sam, I'm sure you've been there, right? The littlest things can set you off. Because to everybody else, it's a very little thing. But you're flicking it on top of a pile of 2 billion pounds of garbage already on your shoulders. So that ripple effect, when it hits that pile on your shoulders, brings that weight even heavier on you. You know, Tim has been dealing with a lot over the last year, 2 years, really, medically. My co-host, producer, best buddy here on the show, co-creator of the show. And I thought this show is important for him, too. For me as well. I'm starting a whole new aspect of my life. Engaged to my best friend, starting a new life, a new 50 years into the future with the person I'm meant to be with. And I need to be in a better place, mentally, physically. And you get into these ruts, Sam, where you just feel like, you know what, frick it, I'm done. I can't do anymore. I don't know, everything I do doesn't seem to work.
Right.
I can't get out of this place. I can't do this. But it's right there. You just have to know how to look for these things. Like ghost hunting. UFO hunting, Bigfoot hunting. If you know where to look, if you know how to look, things start to open up for you. What was this turning point for you? This is a fascinating aspect, and trust me, as soon as this show's over, I'm going to be sending it over to my buddies over at Ghost Hunters, Steve and Dustin and Chris, and I think they should hear this. But tell us what happened to open up this newfound world for you.
Yeah, well, since I couldn't really walk around that well, I couldn't really do much of anything too well, apparently, with all my disabilities and issues that I had. Well, I used to watch a lot of TV, and one of the shows I used to like to watch was Ghost Hunters. And from the Ghost Hunters, like, well, I don't know if this is real or fake. I really don't know. It's TV. I don't know, but I enjoy this ghost hunting show. Well, anyhow, I saw a tweet from Chris Williams saying, hey, we're having this event at Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia. I thought, great, that's fairly close. I could probably go for an hour, because an hour is about all I can tolerate in the summer, because with the multiple sclerosis, my whole body was shut down anything above 70 degrees, because it was just really impacting the nervous system. So I saw this tweet from Chris Williams, they were having a ghost hunt at Fort Mifflin. So after the meet and greet, we went over to Fort Mifflin, and I did my research. Okay, if I only can be here for an hour, where should I go? And my first reaction was, it has to be the casemates. So I got my way to the casemates, and I just sat there, and nothing really was happening at first. I was sitting in the casemates with Chris Williams, so she was doing like EVP type stuff, and I didn't have a recorder or anything like that on me. So it was kind of boring. Not much was happening. Then anyway, somebody puts out this flashlight, one of the twisting flashlights that, twist on with a light touch, twist off with a light touch. So somebody puts out this flashlight, and they say, turn this flashlight on, it goes on. Turn this flashlight off, it goes off. So this went on for like 3-4 minutes. I'm like, well, that's curious. Well, something's here, so I guess ghost hunting is real. Then also I was at the casemates. After that, I felt this overwhelming sense of dread once in a while. Then on the few of the casemates, they like these wooden beds. Well, I was sitting on one of those beds, and it felt like somebody I couldn't see sat right next to me. And I just felt this dread when they sat next to me. I was like, wow, that's interesting. But you made a point here, Dave. No matter what it is, Bigfoot hunting, UFOs, ghost hunting, it's being that place of curiosity. The curiosity can get you out of the mind, if you will, to stay open, to explore. And that's what I did after that ghost hunt. Like, okay, this is real. Something is here, but what? So I started to read some books, like books from mediums, just different types of books, but very slowly, because my eyesight was very poor from the multiple sclerosis. But eventually, I came across a book that talked about meditation. And meditation, one of the benefits was inner peace. I'm like, I need that. So that night, I began with a simple 5-minute meditation practice. I didn't have anybody tell me any rules for meditation. They didn't tell me I had to sit in a certain way, breathe a certain way, hold my hands a certain way. That would have just added more noise to my already noisy mind. I would have been so focused on the rules, I would have never had clarity of my thoughts. I would just had more thoughts. So I think that's the important thing that ghost hunting did for me was, well, I was naturally curious. So when something happened that I couldn't explain, that curiosity took over to explore, to figure out what was going on there. And then from that ghost hunting experience, I read some books that led to meditation.
Right, and this is pretty impressive. I mean, you're on a public ghost hunt with members from the Ghost Hunters TV show on Sci-Fi Channel. You've got Chris Williams, Dustin Perry, Steve Gonzalez, Dave Tango, all of which are very motivational people anyway. They're some of the nicest people I've ever met in the paranormal field, some of the sweetest people too. And you're having this experience among them where you're, and I try to tell people this when they're dealing with depression too, and it sounds like this is exactly what you were. You got out of your mind and became a part of the moment. And that's when this awakening happened for you.
Right.
When you weren't dwelling on how crappy things were for you, you were dwelling on bigger things, bigger questions.
Right.
So that's kind of this amazing volcanic catalyst that breaches your mind and sets you on a new path.
Right. So that's what it did, a new path for me. I never explored meditation before. It was never brought up to me before to try meditation. It was always medicine.
Well, and here's the thing. What's meditation going to do? Meditation isn't going to cure multiple sclerosis, not going to cure bipolar disorder, not going to cure cirrhosis or arthritis. So why would most people even consider meditation and changing with this, right? I mean, okay, it's good to kind of hush your mind and maybe start to get on top of the trash talk. But for these other medical maladies, that's just going to always be a part of who you are. Or at least that's what we think, right?
Right, that's what we think.
Where does this go now?
Well, where it goes now is I had this simple meditation practice. So the first 2 weeks of the meditation practice were extremely difficult. The mind was constantly telling me that I was wasting my time. But for some reason, there was a drive within me that said, meditation equals inner peace. Meditation equals inner peace. And with all this depression and everything I was facing, I desperately needed inner peace. So that's why I began meditation, was just for the inner peace. I just needed a quiet mind, if you will, because it was constantly spewing garbage. So I needed that. But it got really strange. I had this very, very simple meditation practice. 3 months of this meditation practice, after I was done meditation one evening, I simply heard a voice say, "Perfect spirit." I'm like, that's it. My spirit is fine. It's simply the flesh that's damaged. Then I simply had a knowing that all was well. All sense of fear about my health was simply gone. And my mind just got quiet that night. Then this voice that I heard, which I call like intuition, just provided all the steps to recover my body and mind. So
now you're a skeptical guy.
Yeah.
You've got a good brain. You've got good thought process. Are you questioning this? Are you like, come on, there's no way? You know, I mean, because again, a lot of us fold into that negative chatter. Or do you think because you were now 90 days into this meditative stance,
right?
Do you think you had quelled enough of the BS talk in your head that you were able to finally start to hear the messages you needed to hear?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
And when you got that clarity, then did you feel this? Yes, this is going to work, or were you still skeptical of it?
No, I wasn't. I pretty much had a knowing that night that all was well. Just hearing that voice, that divine spark, if you will, reassuring me that all is well. And I just simply knew that night that it was over. And it was just a matter of just listening to that voice. And that voice just provided the instructions, if you will, to recover the body and mind, where the people can't explain my healing. My doctors cannot explain it.
Well, let's reel back. 4 listeners right now, Sam, that are on the brink, and they're feeling it, and they're overwhelmed because bills are too hard, and life is too hard, and the kids don't listen, and my body's giving out on me, and my relationships aren't working. What was the first meditative stance? Nobody taught you rules, but what started to work for you? What would you do? Were you sitting cross-legged on the floor? Were you hanging upside down? Were you sniffing glue? What were you doing to get you into these meditative moments? I
would just sit there and not react to the mind. The mind was always telling me, you're missing your favorite TV show. You're missing your emails. You're missing this and that. But my mantra was, if I had one, I deserve 5 minutes to myself. So 5 minutes of disconnecting, of just sitting there. And from just sitting there, before I heard that voice, I was starting to see that I have thoughts, but I am not these thoughts.
That's amazing. I have these thoughts, but I am not these thoughts. That is very deep.
Yeah, that was the realization I had.
How were you, because here's my problem with it, and which a lot of people have told me about, and I've talked about openly on the air. I've tried meditation, and to me I sit there quietly in the dark, or even in a light room, and I just try to not focus on anything, and all I'm hearing is God, you got to get another guest for the show this week. And I probably could have asked that question a better way, and I really messed up with Sam. I should have gone this route instead of that route. And oh, crap, the kids, I got to put money in their lunch accounts this week for school. And, oh, no, what am I going to, there's just that constant barrage of crap, right, going on in your head. Would you just, when that would start to pour in, when you'd start to feel that avalanche, how would you push it back?
Yeah, because I saw that was just the storyteller. The storyteller was constantly telling its story. But what I did, like ghost hunting, I zapped me back into this moment. So when the storyteller would go, I'd be like, where are my feet? Where are my hands? And start focusing on my body. Just to keep myself here in this moment, not in the storyteller land.
So for those of you that might be having a hard time understanding that, imagine your spouse or loved one just came in and started to tell you a story, and you look down at your cell phone and start following on Facebook. That's the same disconnect, right? The storyteller's going on, but your mind is somewhere else. So that's what you need to do when you're in these meditative moments, is the storyteller's going to tell their story, but you can take yourself out of that. It's almost like, what was that, the Zen and motorcycle building or something? That guy took himself out of the horrible position he was and started putting himself in focus into something that he loved and was passionate about, as opposed to something that was horrible and tearing him apart.
Right, absolutely. So unknown to me, that's what I was doing, just keep myself back here into this moment, bring myself back to this moment and this moment. And I wouldn't judge. Well, first I began to judge the mind, then I'd say, wait, that's a thought chasing a thought. Right. So I just need to let that story go and just come back to, like, where are my feet? Where are my hands? And that's all I was doing, is coming back and not judging myself, because I was just adding more noise.
And you're just talking about 5 minutes a day to start. So, again, you're not asking for a major commitment. I'm not saying you've got to sit there for an hour, which nobody can pull off at the beginning. You're saying just give yourself 5 minutes. Allow it.
Right.
Okay.
Just 5 minutes.
Right.
And by the second month, I was doing 5 minutes twice a day.
Great.
And by the third month, I was doing 10 minutes twice a day. That was my practice.
Now, were you starting to feel a physical change during any of this? Aside from, I'm guessing stress levels have dropped, which probably affected your psoriasis and started to change that level too, right?
Yeah. But the stress was going way down because I was placing those gaps in the thought stream. I wasn't having all that stress, all that cortisol running through my body, that I was quieting the mind down. And that's what it was, just simply quieting the mind, and just realize the mind's always going to tell its story. It's up to you if you want to react to that story or not.
Okay, so treat that part of your mind, folks, like you would somebody you don't want to hear at that moment. Just what would you do if you zone out into something else? It doesn't mean ignore it by flipping around on Facebook and bleaching your mind with more negativity and crap, but focusing on just the moment where you're at and what's going on, and maybe focusing on your breathing or focusing on something that takes you out of your headspace. Right.
That's all you're trying to do. It could be looking at a wall. If it could be looking at the floor, you're just disconnecting.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter.
And you get this message. This message tells you we can fix the body.
Yeah.
This can happen. All right. Walk me through that wormhole with you.
Okay. Yeah, so it is a bit of a wormhole, but it was just trusting that voice. Because when I heard that voice say perfect spirit, I was in the right mindset. 90 days in, quieted the mind enough that I trusted that voice. If I heard it any earlier, I would have gone to the psychiatrist and say, now I'm hearing voices. So it was just the right time for me to hear that voice. Anything earlier would have been too soon. I probably would have gone to the psychiatrist at that point saying, I think I'm going schizophrenic now. I'm hearing voices. But I just trusted that voice, that's the truth, that's what I see today.
Right. And probably for the first time, it was a voice and a truth that was positive, right? It wasn't something talking you down and, how goofy looking or fat you've gotten or how slow you've become, or it wasn't that. You were hearing something positive, something lifting you to where you needed to be.
Right.
All right. And what was it telling you to do? How was it telling you to start not only healing the mind, but the body? What were the steps it started to give you?
Well, one of the first steps I got was start to taper off my medicine. I don't recommend that to anyone. Like I said, it took me 5 years to get the bipolar medicine correct. I was on 13 medications, so going right off medication is not is not the preferred way, but I simply trusted that instruction. It's time to get off the medicine. So I began to taper, but very slow, and I was looking for changes in the body. And the body wasn't changing. What I noticed was when I was reducing the medicine, the brain fog was clearing, because I didn't realize that all the fog this medicine was creating. So the fog was starting to diminish, if you will, from tapering down the medicine. Then from that, I would get instructions like drink water, less TV, less caffeine. Then eventually told me to do yoga. And my story was, there's no way I can do yoga. There's just no way. It's impossible.
Right.
But I saw that was
my mind just snapped in and said, "Oh, screwed! You're out of it, Schrader. Knock it off." But that again is the garbage talk. That's the crap that's going to keep you in the place that you are right now, and that's not working for anybody. So you yield to that voice again, right? You trust in what it's telling you.
Yeah. So I do yoga. So I asked, okay, where? So driving by to work is like, there's your yoga studio. So I went there, and I signed up. But unknowns to me, I didn't know about different styles of yoga. So this is a vinyasa yoga, which is very aggressive, if you will, very fast. So when I began yoga, I would fall over a lot in the beginning. But 6 months later, I didn't need my cane anymore. So this is what I tell
somebody with multiple sclerosis and arthritis, you're no longer needing your cane because you're doing this yoga and coming out of where you've been.
Yes.
And how is medical science reacting to the improvements you're making? Are you letting your doctors know that you've tapered your medications?
No, because they gave me a hard time, so I stopped seeing them.
Okay. But again, this isn't something you recommend everybody, right? I mean,
no,
we're on medication, some of us for reasons, and you have to be careful when you're doing this.
Absolutely. I don't recommend my path for a lot of people because I wasn't heeding my doctor's advice. They were really upset with me. So I figured that was just adding more noise to my head that I was doing something wrong. So I just stopped seeing them and continued to trust this voice that was guiding me. So after that, do yoga. 6 months after doing yoga, I didn't need my cane anymore. And the body was really coming back online. Then I guess about a year and a half after I heard that voice, I was basically done my medicine. I was completely off my medicine at that point. The body was recovered. I had no signs of disease. But I saw the neurologist for one last visit.
Wait a minute. This is how long into doing this?
About 17, 18 months.
17 or 18 months, and now you're not seeing multiple sclerosis effects on you anymore?
I'm not seeing anything anymore. Everything is just gone.
Your migraines are gone.
They're just gone.
Your psoriasis is gone.
Gone.
The arthritis not bothering you at all.
Not there.
And the bipolar, the mood swings, the deep darks and the bright brights, you're evened out.
Yeah, they're not there.
This brain fog, this clouding effect, gone.
Gone.
And was all of this prior to it? Was your memory fading on you a lot too? Were you feeling kind of disconnected from reality? And I don't mean that in a disassociative way or a crazy way, but where you just felt like age is getting me.
Yeah, that's why. Age was getting me, but I felt after my healing, I felt like 15 years younger.
Huh. All right, so you go to see this neurologist one last time.
Right.
And have you told them what you've done or what you're working on?
Yeah, he was trying to quantify what I did.
Okay.
He spent 45 minutes questioning me, trying to quantify it. For the last examination, he was like, well, your blood results are better than mine. The only thing I see wrong with you, if you will, is a non-specific hand tremor that everyone sees, that everyone has. And that was it. He had no explanation.
Did he want to know what you were doing to make life better?
Well, yeah, he was...
I mean, I know he's quantifying it and asking questions, but I mean, there's a difference between hearing and listening and wanting to know. I mean, was he more like, well, this is just, you're just a rare instance. This isn't something that happens.
Right. He was pretty much in that skeptic mindset the whole time, but he couldn't deny what his eyes was seeing.
Okay.
So my doctors in the Philadelphia area just simply could not explain me. But then I went to a conference out in California, and I talked to a family physician out there at this conference, and I told him what I did. And while even him hesitating, he's like, oh, you stopped believing your mind.
Really? So he was aware of the kind of change that could be made too.
Yeah, he was very aware. And he's actually sees quite a bit of that. People stop believing their mind. And that's what I tell people is that you live in this body. You know it the best. They're just guessing what's best for you.
Right.
And what I can remember of that specifically is when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and I was doing rehab and recovery, they would just say, oh, you did 10 minutes of therapy. You must be tired. Go lay down for an hour. They weren't asking how I was feeling. They were just following protocol.
And now that you've got a handle on this, now that you're starting to come around and you're getting control of yourself, are you connecting in other ways too? I mean, are you were fascinated by the ghost hunting. I'm just curious, did it open you to sensitivities of being more empathic, being maybe more in tune with people around you, or even in the spirit world?
Oh, absolutely. All my gifts, if you will, have completely opened up. I can walk into a place now and I can just sense where the spirits are. I know their story. I know if they died there. I know where they died, how they died. I know all those kind of things. And when I work with people, I just simply know what's going on with them and what they need. And I sort of unlock their mind, and amazing things happen. It's really hard to explain how it opened me up.
What are you able to do now that you were never able to do before? I mean, give us an example. I mean, was it just you're able to walk? Are you walking but hobbling? Are you walking like you never had any issues to begin with? What can you tell me about the reality of your physical and mental state now?
It seems surreal. My body is perfectly healthy today. No medicine, no nothing, no signs that I had any diseases. Most people look at me and say, there's no way. But I'm like, yeah, this is what I went through, but I'm fine today. So it's been 5 years now without medicine or seeing any doctors or anything, and I'm fine.
And it's not just that. I mean, this isn't just one man's story that ends there. You help people do this and achieve this for themselves, correct?
Yeah. I teach them how to get rid of their head trash.
All right.
And once they get rid of their head trash and they hear this voice within them, or insights, or just knowings that I need to go do this, I need to go do that, they heal. And some other times, the one story that I can share that's really on top of my mind that I can think of. So there's a stage 4 breast cancer patient where the cancer is metastasized to the body. I get a call from a friend saying, hey, my friend's in really bad shape. Can you go see her? I'm like, sure, I can go see her. So I spent 2 hours with her. I can tell she was on her deathbed. Mm-hmm. I mean, she was really close to death, really bad. So I do what I do. I go into this meditative space, get her mind offline. And the way everybody experiences my healing different. That's the best way I can explain it. She's like, when you dropped into meditation, I just saw this gold energy weaving in and on my body. And when I closed my eyes, I slowly see this gold energy weaving in and out of my body. And she's no longer in the hospital. She's no longer on her deathbed. She's making a recovery.
She's making a recovery. Okay, again, this sounds completely Twilight Zone.
It is.
She's seeing this. Is this? Do you think that this is truly some kind of metaphysical magic taking place around us? Or is the metaphysical magic in our mind, is this gold light zipping around her and in and out of her something that she's creating to purge? Or is there truly an outside effect that is coming in and purging you of this negativity?
It could be the divine light within her creating that light. Who knows? All I'm trying to do is get the mind quiet so the intuition, the divine spark within us can lead the way, if you will. Like, I don't heal anybody. I just allow the body to heal itself. So people do different things and they experience different things. It's very, very hard to explain, but it's just waking up that healer within them.
All right, and making that their new reality, their paradigm.
Yeah, that's why I said, you live in this body, you know it the best. The one who really knows is your spirit, your soul, if you will. And that's what I see today is that we're all this perfect spirit Whether we're in the body or not in the body, the spirit remains the same.
All right, give, again, and I know time's running out on us here, but for people that really want to change and they want to get out of this dark headset and they want to get out of this mindset, give them some of your best tips. And I know that you want people to check out your website and they can reach you that way and get more in-depth and work with you on this type of thing. But for people right now who want to start over, you're saying this 5 minutes a day, and it's okay to have the head chatter. You just have to look beyond the head chatter. You've got to allow nothing to be important for 5 minutes a day.
Right, just coming back to your feet, if you will. And if people want, I do give out my copy for free, electronic copy for free. They just send me an email and I send it to them so they can actually see all the steps that I did. I talk about my only story for a chapter or two, then it's all sorts of steps and practices to quiet this mind.
Give us a couple more for right now for people that maybe are at work or in the car listening and won't have a chance to email you or get that free copy right away. What are a couple of great things that they could start doing right now?
Touch something. If you're driving, touch your steering wheel. Notice, is it hot, cold, rough, smooth? And when you're focusing there, you can't pay attention to the storyteller. You're getting your focus elsewhere. So when you're driving, you can just touch your steering wheel. If you're walking around, you can touch a desk and notice, is it hot, cold, rough, smooth, and notice everything about that desk. Because the mind cannot multitask. As much as we try to convince yourself, the mind cannot consciously multitask. So if the storyteller is going, you bring its focus elsewhere, the mind. And if people are convinced they can multitask, I tell them, on your dominant hand, write your name and address. On your other hand, read a book. And try to do both at the same time. If you can do both at the same time, that's true multitasking, reading and writing. That's true multitasking. But the mind can switch tasks very quickly. So if the storyteller is going, you're either paying attention to the story or something else in this moment. The more you can pay attention to this moment, the more gaps you're placing into the thought stream. And the more gaps, the more you can hear your own wisdom, your own insights. So it's just a little practice of just walking around, touching things, noticing things. The story's going. Just look around. You have a piece of art in front of you. Go look at that piece of art. Or write.
I'm going to ask you a strange question, okay?
Yeah.
In life, and how old are you now, Sam?
50.
Okay, I'm going to be 50 in November. I sneeze, and 2 years have passed me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, and that's been the one focus I'm looking for, is how to control time again. Because it feels like it's going like that to me. I mean, there's just, every time I turn around, some major milestone has occurred, and I'm closer to the end of the ride than I am to the beginning of the ride. And I try to live in the moment when I can. And I promise you, after today's show, I will be doing the things you've spoken about. I'll be contacting you for that free book as well to walk myself through these moments because I want to get back into it. But be honest with me. You don't have to stroke or play games here. Have you felt time slow for you now? Because you're not in somebody else's mindset anymore. You're not in the paradigm of what everybody else's reality is.
Right. And they've actually done a study on this. People who meditate, have that quiet mind, experience the present moment 2 times longer.
Jeez, that's exciting.
Yeah, so when the mind does get quiet, you get to notice the moment longer, so you can make that decision which way you want to go. You're not so reactive. When the mind's very, very busy, you become very reactive, and time just seems to slip. But the mind's quiet, you can really notice more things around you. I notice that my mind is quiet, so my senses are greater. My hearing is better. My sight's better. My taste is better. It's because I'm experiencing the present moment longer. And it feels like I'm 15 years younger after my healing.
That's an important aspect because that is something. I mean, to me, that is a cancer in my life, is the bleeding of time constantly. The feel and loss that it's just gone and I have no way to recapture it. And, you know, you think of these tragic moments, you know, when you're in a car accident, how everything seems to go slow. Because for the first time in your life, you're no longer worrying about, did you do your laundry? Did you turn off the oven? Did you do any of that crap? You're not worrying that you're not good enough. You're not worrying about anything but that moment. And that moment takes forever. When it's only a few seconds, but it feels like you're in there for a half an hour while your car is spinning and things are going out of control.
Yeah, because you're fully in the present moment. There's no storyteller.
You know, it's interesting, too, because you think of the gravitational pull and the gravity. When people talk about the gravity of a situation, that's something that I've always discarded as just a metaphorical instance. But you think about it. The closer you are to gravity, the slower, right? So if we're looking at this and we're thinking, you know, my mom passed away in November, and those days leading up to and month and a half afterwards crawled like unbelievably slow, painful, because I was still stuck in that moment. But I wasn't as focused on everything else that needed to be done, and I wasn't focused on all the negativity in my brain. I was focused on the rest of this. And that was a negative slowdown. But I noticed that, again, when I wasn't, oh, God, I got to get this done. Oh, my God, I got to get, oh, well, you're so stupid. You're dumb. You're fat. You're whatever. Then all of a sudden, you start to reclaim that time. So the gravity of the situation is important. You've got to start taking that to yourself again so you can get that back. You're saying that, according to these studies, the meditator gets to experience it twice as long as a normal person. And yes. I'm betting in your case it's a lot longer than just twice as long. I bet you really kind of soak in that moment. Yeah,
because the mind's fairly quiet today. There's still some head trash. That's why I meditate every day, just to keep that head trash at bay, clear it. Because we're always picking up stuff as we go throughout life. You know, that this shouldn't have happened, this shouldn't happen. The mind's always telling its stories. It's reminding us that we're alive. That's the way I see my storyteller today. It's reminding me that I'm alive. Because if the brain wasn't telling a story, then I would be dead. So it's my reminder that the thoughts will always be there. It's just a matter of if I react to them or not.
All right. Fascinating stuff, Sam. This is great. This is life-changing things. People are always looking for that moment, that aha, the bolt of lightning, and they don't always come. And sometimes, again, it's because we're misdirected. Mm-hmm. I hope people hear this and take from it. And I think it's great that ghost hunting saved your soul, right?
Yeah.
Looking really for answers on the afterlife. The paranormal investigation is kind of what reopened your ability to live. So this fascination with death brought you more into life. Mm-hmm. And now there are all these profound changes in your life. Tell me, before we go, you've got some amazing success stories. Tell me about a couple of the people that you've helped out and what their lives have been like since they've changed this route as well.
Yeah, I don't really think about the results too much because I just try to keep myself in the present moment. Well, I don't allow my mind to drift so much. But I know somebody had terrible social anxiety. After reading my book, it's no longer an issue to them and they can work. So that made it dramatic because they did some of the simple practices that I have in my book. That's what I'm thinking of with the social anxiety. Just people feeling hopeless. That's what I really get out of my book. The satisfaction I get out of my book is they're no longer hopeless. They feel a sense of hope that if I do this and this, my life will get better. And it will. Like we were talking about earlier, it's just a matter of keep moving. Keep taking that imperfect action. It's better to take some kind of action than no action. That you are in control of your destiny. It's not fixed. So there's all these stories, but they're not going to help you if you're not willing to do the work. And the work doesn't have to be much. And I'm proof of that. You don't have to go in these hour meditations. I don't meditate for an hour. That's not my thing. It's just a couple minutes a day. And that's all we need is a couple minutes a day to ourselves.
And people will feel like failures because they're going to have these moments. And you mentioned something important. You still get the head trash.
Yeah.
So it's not failure that you continue to get the head trash. That's human nature. That's part of it. And how can you not when you open up social media or emails or newspapers, news websites, and hear all the nastiness being trolled around in the world today? It'd be impossible to not get some head trash.
Right? You won't be human if you didn't have reactions.
Right. So that's okay. It's okay. And you got to give yourself permission, right? To just feel that's okay. But I'm going to take that back now. I'm taking the power away from the trash and giving myself back that ability.
Right. Absolutely.
Very cool. What's your website, Sam? How can people find you and get more information?
Well, if they're on Facebook and they want to get a free copy of my book, they can join Head Trash Anonymous.
Okay.
That's a group I have, it's helping people how to get rid of the head trash. And then my website is don'tdwell.org.
And we'll have links to both of these sites up.
Because I was constantly dwelling in thoughts about how bad life was.
Right.
And when I stopped dwelling in thoughts, I healed. I got rid of the head trash.
And again, it's not an overnight thing. I want people to realize that. It's not an overnight thing. But you can get there.
You can get there.
There is hope. So for those of you that, and I mentioned at the other part of the show, you wonder, why am I still here? What is the purpose of this? And it's funny to me because there are days that I'm feeling low and I'm feeling dark, and I get emails from listeners that say, I just want you to know, listening to your show saved my life. Listening to your show brought me out of a darkness. Hearing you guys share the stories from your listeners, I thought I was crazy. Now I know there are other people experiencing the same thing, and I don't feel alone anymore. And it's not directly me. It's not me saving lives. It's not me doing these things. But there's my purpose. I'm here inadvertently to help others, sharing people like Sam Shelley's story and giving this chance here. And you never know how you impact the lives of others. You never realize that what you say, the kindness you show, the smile you give, the hand you put out, the hug you give, how that may change somebody else's life. So when you're in these moments of feeling dark and lost and despondent and like you mean nothing, it's not true. That's garbage. Those thoughts are not you. So sweep them away and make your life the best it can be, because you will touch lives. And when people see you changing, they'll see this. They'll want to know how, and you can start to impact other people's lives. You're impacting lives, Sam. You're sharing your story. That's making other people look at their lives differently and do things differently.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is you have to realize that you're a perfect spirit. The real you is perfect. The light never dims. What dims is the head trash, building lampshades, if you will, around your light. And the more you can get rid of those lampshades and learn to trust yourself and appreciate who you are just as you are, then life gets much better. To realize that you only have this one body. There's no guarantee you're getting another body. No matter how much my mind complained about my body, I couldn't pick up the telephone and say, hey, I need a new body. Right. I just had to work what I had. And what I had was time. I could sit still for 5 minutes because I deserved 5 minutes to myself.
That's great. Sam, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your very compelling and inspirational story, and I hope that it helps people. And I thank you for staying around and not giving into the darkness and not being defined by the head trash, but by defining yourself by the way you react to it. So thank you for the work you've done.
And thank you, Dave, for having me. I really appreciate talking to you and somebody that understands the darkness, because the darkness will always be there, unfortunately.
And that's why together, Monday through Friday, we will continually work to get beyond the darkness.
President Trump in Paris. I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. President Trump will hold a news conference in Paris where he is meeting today with the French president to talk about terrorism and the trouble in Syria. They have found human remains on a farm in suburban Philadelphia as they look for 4 men missing since last week. They've identified one man whose remains were found in a 12.5-foot deep common grave.
There are additional human remains inside that grave. So this painstaking process will go on.
That's the DA of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, speaking this morning. The parents of a critically ill British baby have stormed out of a courtroom during a hearing to decide whether they can bring their child to the United States for experimental treatment. The parents apparently disagreed with comments made by the judge. Little Charlie's mother saying, "We said he's not in suffering and in pain." I'm Rita Foley.